Live every day as if it were the last, because before you know it, time goes past and life's just not that long. Tell all you love that you love them so, because even if you do, they might not know, and one day we'll all be gone. Taste the wind, don't let it blow.
I wish when I was in high school in the 1960s, this book, A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn, I wish it had been written at that time, and I wish that it had been then used as the textbook in my American history class in high school. This book shows American history through the lives of women, Native Americans, African Americans, Latinos, low-income working people, activists against war, activists against slavery, activists against injustices. I strongly recommend this book from the library, A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. And from the book, Frederick Douglass, a slave sent to Baltimore to work as a servant and a laborer in the shipyard, somehow learned to read and write, and at 21, in the year 1838, escaped to the North, where he became the most famous black man of his time as a lecturer, newspaper editor, writer. Frederick Douglass knew that the shame of slavery was not just in the South, that the whole nation was complicit in it. And on the 4th of July, 1982, Frederick Douglass gave this Independence Day address. Frederick Douglass said, "Fellow citizens, pardon me and allow me to ask, why am I called to speak here today? Why have I or those I represent to do with your national independence? Are the great principles of political freedom and of natural justice embodied in that Declaration of Independence extended to us? And am I therefore called upon to bring our humble offering to the national altar and to confess the benefits and express devout gratitude for the blessings resulting from your independence to us?" He said, "What to the American slave is the 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him more than all other days of the year the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is a constant victim. To him, your celebration is a sham. Your boasted liberty is an unholy license. Your national greatness swelling vanity. Your sounds of rejoicing are empty and heartless. Your denunciation of tyrants, brass-fronted impudence. Your shouts of liberty and equality, hollow mockery. Your prayers and hymns, your sermons and thanksgivings, with all your religious parade and solemnity, are to him mere bombast, fraud, deception, impiety, and hypocrisy. A thin veil to cover up crimes which would disgrace a nation of savages. There is not a nation of the earth guilty of practices more shocking and bloody than are the people of the United States at this very hour." Frederick Douglass on Independence Day, July 1852, goes on to say, "Go where you may, search where you will, roam through all the monarchies and despotisms of the old world, travel through South America, search out every abuse, and when you have found the last, lay your facts by the side of the everyday practices of this nation, and you will say with me that the revolting barbarity and shameless hypocrisy America reigns without a rival." The powerful words of truth from Frederick Douglass, a former enslaved black man. I love avocados. Avocados are one of the best foods for immunity to keep us healthy. Avocados are the fruit highest in protein. Avocados are one of the world's most perfect foods. Avocados build our blood, harmonize our livers, lubricate our lungs and intestines. Avocados are loaded with vitamins B, C, E, K, and the minerals magnesium and potassium. Avocados have lecithin for our brains. Avocados are an ideal food for babies. Avocados are an ideal food for beauty. Avocados are good for sleep, for nervousness, constipation, and ulcers. Avocados can help men get better hard-ons. Avocados greatly excite passion for sex. Always eat avocados with a lemon or a lime. Always. Avocados are very high in fat, good fat, but too much good fat can be hard on our livers. Always eating a lemon or a lime with the avocado helps our livers with the healthy high fat in avocados. If I had been eating more avocados with lemons or limes some weeks ago, I might not have gotten sick with COVID. We live, we learn. I eat no processed vegetable oils, no flax oil, no corn oil, no canola oil, no soybean oil, no peanut oil, no olive oil. Processing vegetable oils often takes good stuff out of the original source, especially fiber. Processing vegetable oils often adds bad stuff and heats to high temperatures, destroying certain nutrients. I eat no processed vegetable oil. And usually the more processed a food is, the more you pay and the less you get in nutrition. Eat the whole plant food, preferably raw, preferably organic. I blend flax seed, the whole flax seed, golden or brown, before eating it in my smoothies. I blend raw pumpkin seeds in my smoothies. I do not eat olive oil, but I sometimes, like today, use extra virgin cold-pressed olive oil on my skin. Extra virgin cold-pressed olive oil is a good sex lubricant for fucking. One of the most evil sentences in the whole Bible, Proverbs 13:24, he who spares the rod hates his son. The father, and often mother also, who does not beat his son and often daughter enough, hates his son and daughter. That's what this damn evil verse in Proverbs means. Some of the most evil advice ever written in human history on raising children. If you love your children, you will beat and bruise their precious bodies. That's what the verse is saying. It's insanely evil. Using pain and violence on their bodies to make them act right and live right. Were the 5 black cops who murdered the 29-year-old black man in Memphis beaten as children? How many other cops of any color who beat and murder people were beaten as kids by church-going parents who believed that damn sentence in the Bible, he who spares the rod hates his son? How many people imprisoned for murder were beaten by their parents, brutally beaten? How many soldiers addicted to war? How many alcoholics? How many wife beaters? How many heroin, cocaine, and meth addicts have scars on their bodies? Horrific memories of parents beating them with hands, straps, yardsticks, belts, tree branches. How many kids beaten learn to take the evil abuse, showing no tears, no feelings, in order not to give their father or mother the satisfaction of the kid showing pain? How many beaten kids, unless with much help they slowly heal inside, cannot as adults show deep feelings of love and sorrow? They have learned to hide their feelings. Family and friends may think these adults are cold, do not feel. But we must not judge a book by its cover. These abused children learned to cover, to hide their true feelings while being beaten by father or mother or some other adult. Imagine if that evil Bible verse had never been written in the Bible. Imagine if instead of that sentence, he who spares the rod hates his son. Imagine if instead of that, the verse had said, the father and mother who give lots of affectionate hugs to their kids from birth to death, love their sons and their daughters. Plenty of warm, sincere hugs and touches, lifelong, from birth to death. With much help, adults who were severely abused as kids can slowly heal. With much help, parents who beat their kids, parents who often had parents who beat them, can wake up, can apologize to the adults they abused as kids and ask forgiveness. We can change. For most of us, forgiveness is not a one-time thing. We need to forgive ourselves or others whenever the bad memory, the sad memory, comes back. Julian Assange is a hero of conscience. Julian Assange dared to tell the world the massive war crimes the United States committed in Iraq and Afghanistan. Julian revealed secret, official government records on U.S. atrocities in Iraq and Afghanistan. The U.S. government wants to lock him up in a maximum security prison for the rest of his life. Why? Because he told the world the awful, bloody truth about U.S. mass murders in Iraq and Afghanistan. For almost 7 years, Julian lived in a small apartment in the Embassy of Ecuador in London to keep the U.S. government from taking him to the United States for trial and prison. Since 2019, Julian Assange has been held in harsh conditions and failing health in Britain's awful Belmarsh prison. A strong worldwide movement of activists and some major newspapers calls for the U.S. to drop all charges against this hero of conscience, Julian Assange, who dared to reveal the horrible atrocities of this government from the official secret government records that this government does not want the people of this country to know, and the people of the world. No God heard and helped the millions murdered in the Nazi concentration camps and gas ovens. So why would U.S. Christians pray for God to help their kids' basketball team win? Crazy. No God heard and helped millions the United States murdered in war in Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. So why would U.S. Christians pray for God to heal their sick child? No God heard and helped thousands the U.S. murdered in El Salvador and Guatemala. So why would some people here pray to God to win the lottery? No God heard and helped millions starving to death worldwide for thousands of years. So why would some U.S. Christians pray to find a parking space? Sadly, 56 years ago, as a very sincere young Christian preacher, I spread much religious bullshit about God, my imaginary friend. I was wrong. And with the help of many people, I slowly woke up to reality. I apologize. The U.S. government officially kidnapped many thousands of Native American children for over 100 years. The U.S. government stole these many thousands of Native American children from their tribes, from their families. The U.S. government forced them to go to boarding schools, to rob these children, these Native American children, of their native languages, their native ways, their cultures. How many of these children were beaten by the white people in charge at those boarding schools? How many cried themselves to sleep, homesick for their mother and dad and siblings? How many of them learned to hate themselves for not being white? How many of them ran away from those boarding schools, some of them dying as they tried in awful weather to get home? How many of them never learned how to be a good father or a good mother to their own children because they spent years in boarding school? How many of these children later became addicted to booze and to other drugs to forget the hell they suffered in those boarding schools? How many became mentally ill for life? How many of these children, as they grew up, were duped, conned, baited, recruited by their oppressor, the U.S. government, to become U.S. soldiers to murder indigenous people in other nations? How many of these Native American soldiers had been so poisoned as children in those boarding schools to believe the white people's God approved of U.S. wars abroad? How many of these Native American soldiers came home in body bags? How many returned as alcoholics, wanting to forget forever the atrocities they committed to other human beings who were not white? For many years, I've written letters to friends locked up. A white man friend in an Illinois prison. We've written each other for 28 years. A black man friend in prison. We have written each other 27 years. And many other people locked up for much shorter times that I have written to. Sadly, prisons are big business in the United States. Billions of dollars to the contractors, the crews building the prisons. Billions of dollars to the suppliers of food, uniforms, and much more. The vast majority of prisoners would do much better in community-based programs, booze and other drug treatment programs, programs teaching reading and job skills. Those community-based programs would be far better for most prisoners and better for the communities. And here are many things I would hate about being locked up. The unhealthy factory fake processed food, the meat, dairy, and cooked crap, usually very few fresh fruit and leafy greens. I would hate putting up every day with rules that make no sense. I would hate, if I were locked up, usually not being able to go to friends and family when they're sick and when they die. I would hate usually not being allowed to have a garden. I would hate never being allowed to sunbathe naked or even almost naked. I would hate having some guards who are prejudiced against gay men. I would hate being punished if caught making love with a man. I would hate being punished if caught pleasuring my own body. People have used the Bible to torture and kill people of other religions. People have used the Bible to put men above women. People have used the Bible to put whites above people of color. People have used the Bible to oppose marriage between whites and blacks. People have used the Bible to mass murder Native Americans, Jews, Palestinians, and gays. People have used the Bible to plunder and poison our Mother Earth for greedy profits. People have used the Bible to say God is male. People have used the Bible to curse masturbation. People have used the Bible to make us ashamed of our naked bodies. People have used the Bible to make us ashamed of giving and receiving affectionate sexual pleasures. People have used the Bible to bless capitalism. People have used the Bible to silence sincere, honest questions. People have used the Bible to keep poor people ignorant and quiet under bloody dictators. People have used the Bible to condemn passionate romance between men or passionate romance between women. People have used the Bible to enslave millions of black people. People have used the Bible to demand people remain in miserable marriages until they die. People have used the Bible to rally soldiers and taxpayers to rob and to massacre our brothers and sisters in other nations. People have used the Bible to surgically rape, painfully mutilate boy babies in circumcision. People have used the Bible to abuse and eat animals. People have used the Bible to support the death penalty. People have used the Bible to build nuclear bombs to terrorize the whole world. People have used the Bible to teach eternal punishment in hell. No pardon, no parole. I hate, I damn all such evil religion. I hate, I damn all such evil religion. What good are lots of money and property if our body is very sick? What good are lots of money and property if we have not kept in touch with our living old friends? What good are lots of money and property if we have not kept making new friends? What good are lots of money and property if we fear people want us just because of our money? I do not want much more money and stuff than what I have right now. I have enough. I would not trade places with any millionaire. I would not trade places with any billionaire on earth. I would be ashamed as hell to live that way in a world where hundreds of millions of people are hungry, sick, homeless. How can we teach kids to live fairly in our families if we adults have and buy and crave far more than what we need? How can we teach people to live fairly in our world family of over 8 billion sisters and brothers? Some children who thank their parents for breaking up. One person says, when my father moved out of the house, it was the biggest favor he could have done our family. He should have done it a lot sooner. I was a teenager when Dad moved out. He and Mom never got along. And after he and Mom divorced, believe it or not, they became good friends. They both met other people, eventually married. Their only regret was waiting so long to end a marriage that was all wrong from the beginning. There are many children who are glad their parents had the courage to split. Another person says, my parents finally divorced after 22 years of staying together for the sake of the kids. They were just kids themselves when they eloped. And when they finally grew up, they grew in different directions. I don't believe people should be condemned to a lifetime of unhappiness because of one mistake made when they were too young to know any better. By that time, they wasted a lot of good years. As I look back, I realized that their staying together while we were growing up was no favor to us. We were affected more by their unhappiness together than we were by their divorce. I wish parents would be more honest with their children instead of trying to pretend that everything is okay when in reality it's a mess. I can still remember my sister and me pulling the covers over our heads at night to drown out the yelling and the cursing of those late night family fights. And another person says, speaking of staying together for the sake of the kids, I think our parents probably hold the record. They split up at least a dozen times in my recollection. They were actually divorced twice during their first 15 years of marriage, but got married again. My mother said she'd rather live with the devil she knew than the devil she did not know. Theirs was a very poor example of what a marriage should be. They had all kinds of excuses for getting back together after they split. There were 4 daughters, 2 sons in our family. My mother kept reconciling because she thought every father owed it to his daughter to walk her down the aisle. And after each wedding, there was a big fight. Father moved out of the house for a while. Deep down, we kids always had the feeling our folks tried to stay together for our sakes, which laid a terrible guilt trip on us. If I could give young couples one piece of advice, I would tell them not to have any children until They were absolutely certain they could get along with each other. Staying together for the sake of the kids is a big mistake. A lot of couples should split for the sake of the kids and stay split. Powerful testimonies. I compliment you women who wear low-cut dresses or tops showing more of your breasts. Enjoy showing your body. Enjoy being sexy. Enjoy being attractive. We cannot show our bodies when we're dead in the grave. As a man, I enjoy being shirt-free in public when I'm not cold, and I strongly support the right of any woman to be top-free in public if she wants to be. Why should women be required by law to cover more of their bodies than men? As women, men, and non-binary, why waste loads of money on fancy clothes, expensive jewelry, cosmetics? We can be attractive by being healthy. We can be attractive by never acting stuck up toward anybody. We can be attractive by being always honest, friendly, warm, lean, and dependable. I love to dance to beautiful music, Mexican music, Chicano music, older country, Motown, Diana Ross. Now, I do not know the dance steps. I've never taken a dance lesson in my life. I just do what I feel. I dance with my longtime friend Maria, other women, and often by myself. I would be glad to dance with certain men, very glad. But sadly, most men in this society do not have the balls to dance with men in most places, even though women sometimes dance with women at fiestas. I have no interest in team sports. And I damn all violent sports, boxing, mixed martial arts, football. Why would I want to injure and inflict pain on another man's body? Why would I want him to injure and inflict pain on my body? I'm devoted to many exercises almost every day, push-ups, crunches, chin-ups, and much more. I'm devoted to much walking. The contact sport I love is passionate sex with a healthy man I'm attracted to and who is attracted to me. At the 1963 March on Washington, D.C., Prophet Martin Luther King Jr. gave his I Have a Dream speech. And the chief organizer for that huge march in 1963 in Washington, D.C., was openly gay African-American Baird Rustin. Baird's longest romance with any man was with a Quaker, a white Quaker man. And the Quaker white man was 27, and Baird at the time was 63. 38 years difference in their ages. And the Quaker white man, 27 years old, took the initiative. He took the lead in becoming a romantic partner to Baird Rustin. 38 years difference in their age. In romantic relationships where there's a big difference in ages, it often works best if the younger person takes the lead. Baird and the much younger man were together until Baird died. In the year 2000, I started writing down every penny I spend for everything. Rent, food, stamps, everything I buy. I aim to write down every penny. I learned it from the book called Your Money or Your Life. Writing down every penny I spend and adding it up is a wonderful discipline. Much of the money most people spend in this country is for crap nobody needs. When our loved ones are dying, we need to make sure they know they can talk with us frankly about their dying, about their death. They need to know we will not change the subject. They need to know we will not walk out of the room. Sometimes the dying person wants to talk about dying, but fears the family cannot handle it, that the family will bullshit the dying person with, "You will soon be up and around. You're looking better every day." Just bullshit, lies. Let the dying friend or relative speak from their heart what they feel. Listen. Most of the chemical pesticides most people in the United States consume come from eating meat, cheese, ice cream, drinking milk. When the cows, the pigs, the chickens eat crops sprayed and grown with poison chemical pesticides, those poison chemicals concentrate in the animal's meat, milk, eggs. When people eat the meat, ice cream, cheese, drink the milk, eat the eggs, they get a concentrated dose of poison chemicals, usually without knowing it. The further up the food chain, the more chemicals concentrate. If we eat no meat, no dairy, only plant foods, we avoid most of the poison chemical pesticides most people in this country eat, even if most of our plant foods are not organic. Living tomorrow is not guaranteed to anyone on earth. To hear some people talk about what they're going to do next month, or in 2 years, or in 10 years, they seem to assume they will be alive. Our lives can change or end in an instant when we least expect it. How foolish when people don't recognize that and make that clear. When talking about something in the future, I often say, if I'm alive and able, or I aim to do, or I hope to, or I plan to, because no one on earth can say for sure about being alive tomorrow. If I'm healthy in body and mind, I aim to live and love passionately until the day I die, whether that's tomorrow or 30 years from now. Would a marathon runner want to slow down as he gets closer to the finish line? If I'm healthy in body and mind, why would I want to slow down? As an activist against war, an activist refusing to pay federal income tax for war, an activist for living simply, an activist for eating and living healthy, an activist for gay liberation, for naked body freedom, an activist against all injustices. The semen, the cum of a man who smokes cigarettes is contaminated with many poison chemicals in cigarette smoke. The semen, the cum of a man who eats much meat and dairy from animals fed crops sprayed with poison pesticides is polluted with some of those poisons. The more poisons go into the body, the more poisons come out of the body in all body fluids, including men's semen, women's vaginal fluids. I'm glad to swallow the cum of a man who lives and eats healthy when I'm attracted to him and he is attracted to me. If you have a romantic partner, do you feel trapped and caged by the person you're dating or are married to? Does your partner feel trapped or caged by you? Is he or she jealous? Are you jealous? How would he or she react if you leave the relationship? Violence? Stalking? Bad-mouthing you to other people? Can you see and say clearly your partner's strengths and weaknesses? Is he or she honest with you about everything? Are you honest with him or her about everything? Do you need someone who is in love and makes love with no one else besides you? Do you lie to each other about anything? Are you ready to hear the truth, even if it is not what you want to hear? How does he or she talk about past romantic partners? Is he or she still friends with past partners? Would you or your partner or both of you be better off as friends, but no longer dating, no longer married to each other? Sometimes romance is like 8-year-old Jose finding a baby bird fallen from the nest in the tree. And Jose picks it up, runs excitedly to show his mother. He opens his hand, and the baby bird is dead. He squeezed the life out of it, not thinking what the baby bird was feeling in his tight hand. More than 14,000 scientists in many nations have condemned world leaders for not taking action on the main causes of the climate crisis and the worsening climate emergency. These more than 14,000 scientists from many nations say, stop the use of fossil fuels, gas, oil and coal, and greatly reduce the chemicals that are poisoning the environment. These more than 14,000 scientists from many nations say, bring back the natural plants and animals destroyed in many places. Switch what we eat away from meat and from dairy to mainly foods from plants. These more than 14,000 scientists from many nations say, stop the population explosion of humans to no more total human beings alive in the future than are living right now on Earth. These more than 14,000 scientists from many nations say the Earth's environment is getting much sicker, faster than ever before. All schools need to teach students about the worsening climate crisis they face in their lives and what we each can and must do to slow the climate crisis. We cannot stop it, but if we really are serious to wake up and change our lives, huge changes, we can slow the climate crisis. Theodore Taylor designed bombs at Los Alamos. But Theodore Taylor woke up and became a strong opponent of nuclear bombs. Theodore Taylor said, soon after I reported for work at the Los Alamos laboratory, I showed symptoms of an addictive disease. I became fascinated with the inner workings of nuclear explosives. My mother and my wife asked how I could work on anything designed to kill as many people as possible. I had engaged in self-deception to feed my addiction, and I realized that my wife and my mother had been right all along. He says, for 25 years, it has troubled me deeply that my country is prepared to kill millions of innocent people in retaliation to acts committed by a few insane leaders. I therefore say to anyone who will listen, say no to all nuclear weapons, or expect one way or another to lose your humanity. I urge you who work at Sandia Weapons Lab and at Los Alamos Weapons Lab to take this testimony of Theodore Taylor, who designed nuclear bombs and woke up and changed. We can wake up. We can change. Azim Kamisa, a California investment banker, became an activist after his 20-year-old son, Tariq, was murdered while delivering pizzas in 1995, murdered by 14-year-old gang member Tony Hicks. But the father, Kamisa, forgave Hicks and asked Hicks' grandfather to help him spread a message of nonviolence to young people through his Tariq Kamisa Foundation. These two men, the father of the 20-year-old who was murdered by the 14-year-old gang member, and the grandfather of that gang member, became as close as brothers. And 5 years after the murder, the father of the 20-year-old murdered, Camisa, visited Hicks in prison. And he said, I could see that my forgiveness of him had also transformed him. And quite frankly, when I looked deeply in his eyes, I did not see a murderer there. I saw another soul just like me. We can forgive our enemies. And our enemies can change, and we can change. The French explorer Pierre Liet, after 4 years of living among the Illinois Indians, said in 1702, the sin of sodomy, sex between men, prevails more among them than in any other nation. Sadly, this French explorer thought that men giving each other sexual pleasure was a sin. Crazy. This French explorer probably thought that he was civilized. If your parents are still alive, and if you want to ask forgiveness from your mother or your dad, do it now. If you want to ask your mother or your dad personal questions about their lives, do it now. If you want to answer their personal questions about your life, your ways, your feelings, do it now. If you want to thank your mother or dad, if you want to compliment them, if you want to confront them nonviolently, do it now. Tomorrow is not guaranteed to anyone on earth. Many people stand with overwhelming regrets and floods of tears at silent graves. I warmly thank tonight Mark and Travis for their excellent help, and dozens of times running the cameras and controls for this program. And thanks to all of you watching. If you see me walking on the street or at some event, please, if you're interested, if you want to, speak with me. I love personal questions. And if you or someone you know want me to speak about any of the things I talk about on this program to a class or a gathering in your home, just stop and tell me. And of course, it's totally free for me to come speak. To your health, my fresh piss. Good night.
Tell all you love that you love them so, because even if you do, they might not know, and one day we'll all be gone. Taste the wind, don't let it blow on by. Sing songs of love, let the music get you high, and when it's said and done, you'll know the sun will shine on. And when it's said and done,